What if I told you World War II never happened? No Hitler, no Nazi Germany, no Holocaust, no global destruction that killed over 70 million people. It's hard to imagine, but history almost went in that direction. All because of one letter from an art school. Yes, art. Before Adolf Hitler became the face of evil in the 20th century, he wanted to be something else. An artist. As a teenager, he loved to draw buildings and city scenes. He dreamed of attending the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. Twice he applied. Twice he was rejected. That moment didn't just end his career dreams. It changed the course of history. One no from an art school helped unleash one of the darkest periods the world has ever known. But what if they had said yes? In the early 1900s, Hitler lived in Austria with big dreams, but very little money. He wasn't a politician, a soldier, or even angry yet. He was just a young man who wanted to draw. He sketched buildings obsessively, studied architecture, and believed he had talent. But when he applied to Vienna's top art school in 1907, the Academy rejected him. His style lacked depth, couldn't draw people well. A year later, he tried again, another rejection. Around the same time, his mother passed away, emotionally shattered and financially ruined. Hitler lived in homeless shelters, selling small paintings just to eat. The rejection from the Art Academy wasn't just a career disappointment. It crushed him emotionally and mentally. That pain didn't go away. It grew into something much darker. In Vienna, Hitler's world began to narrow. As his artistic dreams faded, he started absorbing radical ideas. He read books filled with nationalism, anti-Semitism, and conspiracy theories. Slowly, he began blaming others for his failures, especially Jewish people. He was angry, isolated, and bitter. Then came World War I in 1914. Hitler enlisted in the German army. War gave him something he'd never had before. Purpose. Was praised for bravery, wounded twice, and found brotherhood among soldiers. But when Germany lost the war in 1918, everything collapsed again. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany severely, causing poverty, unemployment, and shame. Hitler returned to a broken nation, and he was full of rage. The failed artist became a fiery speaker. That's when the man we know today began to emerge. But imagine a different path. Let's say the art school had accepted him. Teacher saw something in his sketches, a spark of talent, and let him in. In that timeline, young Adolf would have spent years surrounded by painters, sculptors, and thinkers. He would have studied colors, architecture, human forms, and history. Maybe he would have found confidence in creativity instead of anger. He might have formed friendships with classmates from different cultures and religions, softening his prejudice. He would have painted buildings, not bombed them. He would have sold art in Viennese galleries, perhaps lived a modest life, never stepping into politics. That's how close we were to a completely different future, a quiet man with a brush, instead of a tyrant with an army. Without Hitler rising to power, the Nazi Party likely never gains traction. Germany was angry after World War I, but without Hitler's fiery words and radical ideas, no one else might have united the country the way he did. No Nazi propaganda, no swastika flags, no World War II, at least not in the same shape. 6 million Jews would not be murdered in the Holocaust. Cities like Warsaw, London, and Stalingrad might have avoided devastation. No gas chambers, no concentration camps. The world would have been spared from 6 years of global destruction. Anne Frank would have grown up to become a writer. Millions of children, soldiers, and civilians would have lived peaceful lives. And the millions of families shattered by war on every side would have remained whole. That's the power of one path not taken. Now, let's expand that vision. Without Hitler, Japan might not have bombed Pearl Harbor, because Germany and Japan were military allies. If the US had stayed out of the war, it might not have dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Nuclear weapons might never have been developed, at least not as early. Think about that. A world without atomic fear. Also, the United Nations, formed to prevent future global conflicts after World War II, might not exist. Israel, created after the Holocaust as a refuge for Jewish people, might have emerged under different political conditions. Entire alliances and borders in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia would look completely different. That's how wide the ripple effect stretches. One man's art dream could have redrawn the map of the world. The Cold War, a 40-year standoff between the US and Soviet Union, was born from World War II aftermath. Without the war, there's no divided Germany, no Berlin Wall, no arms race, and perhaps no space race. The moon landing might have happened years later, or not at all. Instead of racing to build bombs, maybe we'd have raced to cure diseases. Even inventions like radar, jet engines, or early computers, which were pushed by wartime needs, might have developed slower, or maybe in smarter, more peaceful ways. This alternate history might not just be more peaceful, it might be more advanced. We don't just lose lives in war, we lose time, we lose talent, we lose progress. That's a price too high to measure. The decolonization of Africa and Asia might have taken a different route too. After World War II, European empires were weak and broke, leading to independence movements across the world. If there had been no war, Britain, France, and others might have held on to colonies longer. Or maybe without war stress, they might have negotiated peaceful exits earlier. In India, for example, the independence movement might have faced a slower path, or possibly a quicker one, without British wartime control. South Africa's racial policies, apartheid, and other nationalist movements might have taken different forms. All these shifts were shaped by the war's outcomes. So when you change one spark, in this case, Hitler's rejection, the entire forest burns differently. The 20th century would have been reshaped from top to bottom. Of course, some argue that Germany was already on the edge, even without Hitler. After World War I, the country was angry, its people desperate. Maybe someone else would have stepped in. Maybe another radical leader would have emerged. But it's also true that few could captivate a crowd the way Hitler did. Few could blend hatred, myth, and charisma into such dangerous power. The Holocaust was not just the product of German rage, it was Hitler's vision, his orders, his obsession. Without him, fascism may still have risen. But without the same scale of horror, history doesn't move in straight lines. But in this story, one man pushed it over the edge. That's what makes this what if so haunting. This thought experiment also reminds us of something bigger. The hidden moments that shape our world. School rejection seems small. A lost dream seems personal. But they can spark global consequences. If Hitler had become an artist, he would have hurt no one. If someone had seen his potential, maybe he would have never needed power. This isn't just about Adolf Hitler. It's about how we treat broken dreams, how we respond to failure, and how young people, especially lost ones, need guidance. That's why history is so much more than names and dates. It's about the choices people make when the world tells them no. We should also remember art is powerful, not just in beauty, but in what it prevents. A paintbrush could have stopped a war. A pencil could have saved millions. That's not fantasy. That's fact. If history teaches us anything, it's this. Don't underestimate the power of hope, creativity, and opportunity. Small kindness can redirect a life. A mentor, a teacher, a friend, they can make a difference greater than they'll ever know. So when we think about the past, we must also ask, how can we stop the next tragedy before it starts? The answer isn't always in force. Sometimes it's in believing in someone who doesn't yet believe in themselves. If this changed your viewpoint in life, subscribe now. We've got more what-if stories coming, and everyone shows how a single moment could change everything. Tell us, what do you think would have happened if Hitler had just become an artist?